Okay, so good morning, everybody. Welcome, and we're happy that you made your way to this great event, as well as we're happy to be a part of it and to get the possibility to do a presentation about active learning from WolfVision. So to introduce ourselves first, my name is Fabian Hirschauer. I'm product manager for WolfVision in the headquarters in Austria, and my colleague Michael will start off the presentation.
Yeah, hello and a very warm welcome from my side as well. Thank you all for coming. My name is Michael. I am also located in the headquarters of WolfVision in Austria, and I am working in strategic sales. Good. Today we're going to talk about active learning. We have a small agenda put in place about the topics that we want to discuss today. First of all, I'm going to explain a little bit of the background of active learning and how active learning has developed over time. Then Fabian is going to give you a little bit more of the background of the technologies that we have to support active learning. And then we're also going to talk about a little bit how we expect the active learning to develop in the future. We've just recently have had some studies concluded, and they also heavily influenced the presentation. So there is some academic background there as well, which is great. Actually, I think we need the microphone, right? Like it's. Yeah. Okay, first of all, we're going to go into the benefits of active learning and some background information how active learning has developed over time. Well, if we look down memory lane a little bit, we can find that even 400 before Christ, one of the most famous philosophers, Socrates, has already used kind of an active learning, asking critical questions to his students and therefore fostering critical thinking and making them challenge their point of views, which is ground lying for active learning. In the 1700s, we see the Enlightenment, progressive movements. Yeah, we have the philosopher John Locke, who has strongly influenced the questioning of previous theories. And yeah, this progressive education movement has also already been regarded as one of the cornerstones of active learning as we know it today. In the mid-50s, we have the educational reforms, which enhanced group works and experience learning, what it was called back then, so that people would take a lot more from education and gain more insights into topics and also have an increased interest in topics that they actually have practical experience with. Yeah. And then in the present, we have this evidence-based research that already shows and indicates that active learning is enhancing the knowledge curve and is also helping students understand complex issues a lot better than just having traditional frontal learning experiences. There is a very good reason why especially STEM educations strongly built on active learning. And nowadays also, obviously, and this is where WolfVision specifically comes into play, we have technology-enhanced active learning, which is what our products are mainly aiming at. Good. This is something that most of you are most likely familiar with, the cone of experience or the pyramid of learning. I think everyone has their own experiences made with this. There are multiple levels, and obviously we know that students remember the least amount of information of what they only read, of what they hear, then of what they see, what they read and hear, of what they see, say and write, and then most of what they actually practically experience. Yeah. Then we have the direct and purposeful experience, yeah, where you're practically just doing exactly what you're supposed to later replicate, and this is the way of learning where we take the most from. And then we have this dramatic participation or simulated experiences where you are mimicking sort of a situation, which is also vastly used in active learning spaces. This would refer to something like maybe a flight simulator or gamification where you have certain simulations on a computer, like dentals or operations for complicated procedures for doctors. And you can already tell that for jobs where it is really important that the person is doing what they do, already knows and has confidence that it is right what they're doing. We have had simulation, gamification, and participation in place for a very long time. Yeah, that's because we have seen the biggest effects of active learning in these areas. Good. Teaching success. So the paradigm shift is something that we will cover a little bit later in the presentation in more depth. But what we have seen over the last decade is that there are multiple upsides to active learning. First of all, obviously a benefit for students and teachers as well is a much lower failure rate. As you can see, active learning has dropped failure rates by 10%, over 10%. Not only enhancing the success of the students in universities or schools, but also enabling them to have a better skill set moving into professional realms. The collaboration skills, so teamworking skills, and just being able to find a place in an existing network are also enhanced by active learning, just because you collaborate a lot more with people from your educational space. Just like you heard from Socrates, yeah, the critical thinking is enhanced because you get to question a lot of existing theory, a lot of your own perspectives. You get to question them a lot more. Also, in collaborating with other people, obviously, what happens is that other people question your experiences, question the things that you see, and therefore, obviously, you also get challenged a lot more. Additionally, risk-taking is encouraged because it's a difference if you are only passively engaged into an education. There is a much higher confidence in your own abilities when you get to challenge them on a daily basis in your education. Additionally, we're also looking at the power of teaching aids. Yeah, so only having frontal exchange and only seeing, I don't know, maybe one slide, or having to follow what your teacher or lecturer is telling you in a book is going to lead to a drop to almost 0% of attention over the course of 60 minutes. What you can see from here is that switching teaching aids, so moving from one teaching aid, presentation, visualizer, pictures, books, switching teaching aids can increase the attention span of students and pupils massively. And I mean, over the course of 60 minutes, obviously, you will always lose some people here and there. But having active learning and switching of teaching aids is definitely the way forward, as far as we know, to lose the least amount of attention over the course of a lecture. Additionally, there is a multi-level benefit of active learning. So obviously, we're always only looking at students, but there are multiple levels to the benefits of active learning. I am going to start with students. We've heard this before. Obviously, the collaboration aspect of students really helps them to increase interest. Yeah. Additionally, they gain practical experience, and also it increases their critical thinking, which makes them more interested in a subject on the one hand, but also makes them a more valuable asset in the professional market. So if you were to pick an employee for a company, then you would definitely also want someone who has experience with the topic that they are talking about and also is able to collaborate in a team properly. On the other hand, also teachers and lecturers are vastly benefiting from active learning because they need to adapt to the technology, which is great. And they also get the possibility to change between the teaching aids, which has the benefit that you have seen on the previous slides. But also it helps them to cover different learning styles. Yeah? So we all know that many students learn from different directions. And having the possibility to meet the students where they are is a big benefit for teachers. And additionally, it also increases the motivation for a teacher if he comes into a classroom and he has the possibility to use state-of-the-art technology or also be met there where he is. So being able to use the kind of technology that he wants to use in the classroom. Good.
Thank you. So when it comes to the technology for active learning, one of the first buzzwords we always hear is collaboration, working together. And directly you have a picture in mind, maybe with stations of students working together with a professor, with a teacher, and sharing contents and doing things together. But all of those sessions where you can collaborate have to be managed, have to be coached by a presenter, mainly the teacher, and therefore those sessions have to be started by a user. So we come first of all, before we think about collaboration, we have to think about the user who has to manage and start the sessions. What leads us to user-centered development. The technology should be supportive, the technology should be easy to use, and should not overwhelm the user. Of course, as a tech company, we also have our ideas where we think, wow, that would be a nice feature and we could make some buttons there to achieve more functions, and in the end we would have a lot of great functions and nobody is using it because it's getting too much. Because we thought from development point of view and not from user-centered development. So too much technology, too much features or too much possibilities to control make users maybe feel uncomfortably, yeah. And you lose trust in the technology because it's so complicated. Maybe it's too difficult to start a session that the content is gone or the audio is not working or whatever it may be, and you lose trust in this technology. And that's, of course, not what we want to achieve by creating these technologies. So the user-centered development leads as well to one more difficult part. We have a lot of different users, and we need to find exactly this area between different users and the possibilities of technology to offer a system that is usable for everybody. Maybe you can do advanced things, maybe you don't want to, maybe you don't need to, depending on what you're teaching. So first of all, we need to understand the context of use. What are the needs of a user? What do you want to achieve by using technology in an active learning space? And those requirements need to be specified very detailed to really meet the target. Then, of course, we have to create a draft, a first design solution, and evaluate this solution against the user requirements. Maybe check with some key users if we met their needs, if they can work with that solution. And this is a returning loop, so we have to do this as long as we need to really meet the requirements to, in the end, get a successful solution that is working for everybody. And that's what we try to do. I will show some examples afterwards what we achieved by doing this. We had key user workshops. We invited users to tell us what are they missing in their current setups and what could we provide to make life easier, to have an easy way of presenting and collaborating. And also there we saw again, there are a lot of good ideas, and that's the curve that we call the featureitis curve. So bringing in all the features is overwhelming. First of all, it seems to be great because we can do everything by software. Everything is achievable somehow. But in the end, it's too much, and the motivation of a user doesn't matter if it's now the presenter or a student. If it's too much, the motivation goes down because you don't know how to use the technology. So our results of these key user workshops, the research we did was, for example, this interface. That's one of the possibilities. It's intuitive and easy to control as a teacher or general a presenter, a guest presenter, or whoever it may be. So we can have just all of our contents listed up, prepared in advance before the session, and just move them by drag and drop to one of the connected screens to the device. One button to start a recording, one button to start streaming, and not 100 of buttons at a time. Same if you want to edit the content. So you just tap on it and get controls adapted to the type of content that you're working on, and not hundreds of controls. There is a term that we learned called progressive disclosure, what means in the end, show the user only what the user can use at that time, and not buttons that are unusable, and grayed out or throwing error messages. Just show what is possible to be used. And for example here, it's just an image, a gallery where you can change the image or start annotating on it. And as mentioned, as soon as your content is prepared in a state that you want to show it to the audience, you just drag and drop it to a live screen. And as soon as this is working, as soon as we got the possibility for the user to show contents, for the teacher to have his presenting contents prepared and on the screens, we can think about collaboration. And that's our V-solution matrix. So the two big screens you see on the right side are the live screens of the presenter, of the teacher. You can have pictures, PowerPoints, whatever you want to, and by drag and drop, stream it to student stations. And they will see it live, and every annotation that is happening on that picture will be there at the student stations. And the big advantage is they can join the annotation. So you can start drawing together on a content, on a video or on a document, whatever it may be. As well, you can just send documents to a station and enable the students to work together. And just one more picture regarding that. It works as well in the other direction. So you can grab content from a student station, and all is just by drag and drop. Just connecting the point of the student station with the one of the main station, and therefore have easy access to contents, to share contents with everybody in the room. So we also brought some case studies that we have. There are as well on our homepage if you're interested in a lot more. But for example, the London Business School was one of our first installations with the V-solution matrix. You can see a lot of student stations. They're named after different states. And in the back of the picture, in the back of the room, is the station of the teacher that is controlling all the contents and walking around the room with his iPad and controlling his station with an iPad and enable the students to work together. One more interesting one is the Aberdeen Dental School. They are using this matrix to stream from one station to another interesting pictures of whatever they are working on at that moment. They have also equipped the room with special displays that they can use with gloves, with their medicine gloves, and yeah, just stream to another station if they found something interesting. We have a lot of other case studies, as I mentioned, and here you can see how you can set up this matrix where you can just do drag and drop for contents, so it can be designed according to the room that you're in. So you can intuitively say, okay, that station and the right back is also on the screen in the right back corner.
Yeah, actually we did have a practical session here in between. Unfortunately, we do not have the setup in this room, so whoever wants to have a little bit of a hand-on session with the products that Fabian just now explained, please see our booth at the end of the long way. So we are just down the toilets, I think. Yeah. So yeah, outlook into the future. As you just heard now, or as you can take away from what Fabian just said, flexibility is going to be extremely important in the future in active learning. We have evaluated active learning according to the following drivers that you can see on the screen. So we have socio-cultural, we have political, technological, which is essentially where we come into place, economical, which is extremely important for us as well, because not only we need to supply the products, but also customers need to have the funding available to purchase them. Juridical, obviously, and sustainable. Good. Here you can see how we would expect the educational space of the future to look like. And the immediate impression that I always gather from that picture is that we don't expect one room to serve one purpose, but there would be multiple possibilities available in rooms, yeah, and the flexibility of the technology and also the personnel working in educational spaces is going to be extremely important. Yeah. The terms of blended, flipped, or collaborative spaces is going to play a vital role, and also what is going to be of major importance to either teachers or lecturers is going to be the rethinking or the additional responsibility in the educationer's role. Yeah. So as of now, or up until a couple of years or maybe decades ago, a teacher had the it was his task to bring the knowledge to the students, and that was basically it. But with the increased complexity in technology, in different learning types, in flexibility in classrooms, all of that sorts, it's not only the responsibility to bring the knowledge, but also to meet the students where they are, manage the content, manage the students, and still be available for all kind of knowledge that they have. So we see the educator's role in the future as well as a managing role, not only educator, but also manager, which is where a great quote from Spider-Man comes into mind: with great power comes great responsibility. I don't know if you have seen the film, but this is one of the takeaways from the research that was concluded, that the education needs to make its way back into educational technology, because technology alone is soulless without a pedagogical backbone to it, which is essentially why we need to rethink the role of an educator, because this will be an additional responsibility, and not an easy one for sure. So we're very much also counting on teachers and lecturers in the future to carry forward the drive of active learning. Another great example that we see for future use of active learning comes from the University of Kansai in Japan. They have done what we know as COIL, this collaborative online international learning, where so far in the past we've seen bilateral connections between universities, so that you can have a lecture at one university and another university can join, or that due to geographical limitations, multiple universities from one region are joining one particular lecture. What we see from Kansai University now is that they actually really have multilateral lectures, so that universities from all over the world, not only from somewhere else in Japan, but from all over the world, are joining in lectures, are collaborating on topics, and this is something that we expect to see more and more in the future, that universities internationally will connect and work together on topics. This will make definitely active learning more and more important at universities. I promised you that I would speak a little bit about the paradigm change, and I can also tell you after this we're done. The switch in focus is the main thing that we want to focus on when we talk about the paradigm change. So you can see this is divided into three parts. At first you have the university, second you have the students, and the third one you have the teachers. And the universities need to focus on offering state-of-the-art technology, not only to the students, but also to the lecturers. Yeah, because when a teacher is entering an educational space as of now, they don't want to occupy themselves understanding how the technology works that is on the table. There is the approach of just work. So they want to have a plug and play, and it should just work, and it should be very intuitive. Additionally, like we've seen before, the provided flexibility in active learning spaces is going to be key. For students, a key sentence for students is they are good at using tech, they're not good at tech. So they do not, maybe not fully understand how everything works, but this is the exact same how kids nowadays with 10 years, 12 years of age are much more intuitive in using latest state-of-the-art technology than we are. We all need to learn a lot more about it. And when they grow up, they're going to be intuitive with things that are very, very new to us. So here we need to understand that students are good at using it, even if they are not good at understanding it. They are driving the trends, which is in combination of how universities need to meet the students where they are and offer them state-of-the-art technology. And especially over COVID, we saw that students nowadays need to see the value of participating in person. So many students nowadays, if they see it's, for example, a mathematics lesson, and it's just writing formulas all day, they're not going to come to the university. They're going to stay at home. So the collaborative event is only going to take place if they're here. But if it's just frontal and if it's traditional education, they'd much rather stay at home. And universities are following up on that. They're offering it. Coming to the teachers. Yeah, like we said before, they are gaining the additional responsibility of not only being the teacher and the contributor of knowledge, but also being responsible for managing the students and managing the possibilities of active learning. And the additional challenge is going to be that the focus is changing towards the students, so they will need to meet the students where they are. Good. I think that covers what we had so far. I don't want to pose it as a closed question, so I'm going to say, please come forward with your questions so that we can give answers. All right, so I'm going to assume that we did such a great job that all of your questions are answered. Very good. For any sort of practical experience of our products, please come and meet us at the booth. Any other questions pop up throughout the day, please always come and meet us. Yeah, so we are down the hall.
Okay, thank you very much.